Legacy Cybertron Metroplex in over 60 seconds. Let's go. Here he is, the big f***er of the year. And in a twist that I don't think anyone actually expected, it's the first not G1 Titan in the form of, well, Cybertron Metroplex, as I said. So for those of you who don't know, such as myself, because I wasn't really a kid for Cybertron. At that point, I'd moved on to bigger and better things, such as sniffing marker pens and getting told off by the teacher and all that sort of shit. So yes, in this iteration, Metroplex is no longer a city. He's instead now a gigantic excavator, based off that one of the opening scene of Avatar when they first land on Pandora. Now, with you. I think this is based on something, but I could be totally wrong. This could just be a big thing for the sake of a big thing. It looks cool for what it is. Now, granted, let's get the big thing out of the way here. This is a half-transformed robot in the sense of he's folded over on himself, twisted. He's basically contorted himself like he's trying to fit inside a suitcase. I don't hate the design for what it is. I can see why people would complain, it's not all that impressive, there's not really much going on, it's quite lazy. And yes, on the other hand, it just needs to turn into some sort of excavator, which it does fairly well. It does the job I expect of it. It's big, it's imposing, it looks like it means business. That's what I want of it. The articulation in the arms with the scoop and this big saw blade is nice. It's something a bit different, especially given that we've not really had a Titan class like this to date. I think the closest one I could probably think of is maybe Triptychon, and even then I wouldn't still say this is in the same vein as Triptychon. There's nothing really to compare this to. He's completely a league of his own, which just makes him all the more exciting to actually sit down and talk about. A couple of things worth noting in his alternate mode. One is the legs for some reason feature these air ramp connectors from Earthrise. Yeah, I don't really get what the point is, but apparently he can connect to the modulators and Scorponok and Omega Supreme, I guess, which is a thing. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this. He's got a little cockpit up here, which was intended for a mini-con, which apparently they couldn't do because of budgeting. I'm not sure how much I believe that. That's just what the official line is. Because of budgeting, they didn't do one. Beyond that, there is room for putting another figure in there, such as a core class or a headmaster, or it, let's put this little who I haven't spoke about yet in there and leave him in there and forget about him. Before we get straight through to his robot mode, I think it's worth talking about he actually has a third mode, but it's not in a conventional sense. So let's just quickly buzz through and talk about that. So I'll be up front right now. This in-between work mode is a little goblin. He's Bioshock, man. That's all it is. I think I made the joke where I said fundamentally this guy was, a Bioshock pre-tool. He's got that same sort of essence as the big daddies, apart from the weapons attachments in the hands, which I personally think is a really neat feature and a really cool inclusion, and I like it for everything that it's worth. It's not the perfect sort of alternate robot mode, but it's something where you don't see that often. It's kind of like that counter punch kind of thing. It doesn't make or break the figure, but it's a nice little extra. You can ignore it if you wish. You can have it in this mode if you wish. You can do what I've done, where I literally just stop here on the way as like a sort of checkpoint, like I'm touching in with it. Now let's carry on the rest of this journey, shall we? Alright, now having Cybertron Metroplex into his completed robot mode, this is where the figure really shines. Let's get the first thing out of the way. His articulation. This is probably the most articulated Titan to date, with double jointed knees, forearm swivels, an articulated mouth, an ab crunch. The only thing this guy is missing, so far as I can tell, is a butterfly joint, and that's saying everything. On the articulation front alone, this is probably the best Titan class we've ever gotten, especially because you can make him scream. Maybe he's just realised his place in the universe and he's just f***ing losing his not happy about it, Coming away from that, you then start looking at the paint applications, various detailings of blue, red, white, black, gold, all throughout this figure. Just make it pop. You open up this helmet on the back of his head. He's now got light piping, which shines through his forehead and his eyes. Light piping is always just welcome in this house. I don't care. It's the most non-intrusive and good feature outside of the transformation itself. We then get to his weapon, which is the two pieces of excavating equipment, so the claw and the saw, combined into one and just wielded like a big weapon. This thing is insanely cool. I like this. If you don't want it out, cool. Slot it on his back. He's got that storage option. There's a lot going on with this figure that's worth appreciating, and this is one of those things. This big off weapon really works a lot. The fact that it's got these big beefy ratchets. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. The fact that he looks good while holding it. The fact that he actually comes with a weapon so big. How often do we ever get a Titan class where they come with a suitable weapon? Predaking didn't have no sword. Combiner Wars Devastator had his gun, which was whatever. Omega Supreme, yeah, sure, he is the weapon. That doesn't really count. I think the key thing about taking away from this Titan is because he's not the first one. I know a lot of people were complaining that, oh, they should have done a Legacy Metroplex. It was the G1 Metroplex. We've had the G1 Metroplex. I knew nothing about this character or the original toy, but after this guy came out, I saw a lot of pictures of the original. Holy did that thing need an upgrade. Don't get me wrong, I've gone on record as saying Generations Metroplex is the worst Titan class because it's so basic. And yeah, I can see why you'd say it needs a modern upgrade in tune with Omega, Scorponok. I haven't even watched Cybertron. All I know about this guy is the memes, and I bought him just to say, hey, I want to support the fact of something different. And I like to think this is why we're now getting Tidal Wave in Armada. You know, this guy is just good. A lot of people have slept on this one, and I think it's a shame. Granted, it works out in your favor. This guy's now available on Amazon under 100. If you live in the UK and you've got the means to get this, I wholeheartedly recommend it. I paid 200 for this. Yeah, I got mugged off, whatever, but as far as the Titan class goes, this is as good as it gets. This is the best Autobot we've ever had, and he goes hand in hand with Scorponok as the best Titan to date. Especially because compared to the other ones, he doesn't have as much of a wide footprint. He's quite skinny. He fits in well wherever he goes. He's just something exceptional. He's something different. He's something good. I love him for what he is. I'm glad to have him. And as previously stated, I say this as someone who has never watched the Cybertron cartoon. He's fantastic. I love the fact that they did him. I love the fact that I've actually been able to get one. He's definitely one of the highlights of this year for me as a collector. And I think, in essence, that sort of sums up my thoughts in Legacy Metroplex. Is he the perfect figure? Absolutely not. Is he the perfect Titan class? Probably not, but I would argue he's definitely one of the closest we've ever come. Between him, Scorponok, and maybe Predaking, I think we've nearly reached that point. And I'm curious to see what Tidal Wave is going to look like, carrying on the tradition of non-G1 Titan class. And on a disgusting amount of simping for Joe Hasbro and his product, I think we'll end it there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've had a pleasant time watching this. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. I have a Patreon, a Discord. As part of the Patreon, you get these videos early, uncensored, and very occasionally you get exclusive content. Yeah, I think that's about it. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys for Legacy Wave 3. Thank you very much. Goodbye.